Alan Wake 2 is a rumored upcoming action-adventure game that would be developed by Remedy Entertainment and published by Epic Games. The first entry in the series was released for the Xbox 360 as an exclusive in 2010, and then for the PC 2 years later in 2012. After a long and strenuous development cycle and multiple changes to the core gameplay, when the game was finally released, it was considered a hit for the studio. It sold millions of copies worldwide, and a sequel was in development at one point but was later cancelled. More recently, rumors have circulated that Remedy is revisiting the series, so let's break down the rumors, publishing rights, and the original cancelled version. As always, all the sources will be linked in the description below, so make sure to check those out and support those original writers. And with that out of the way, let's get into everything we know about the Alan Wake 2 leak and original version. The first story we have to cover to understand why Remedy would be interested in Alan Wake after all these years is because in July of 2019, Remedy did gain back the publishing rights for Alan Wake. Now, Microsoft did initially own the rights when they were working together, but after a royalty payment of 2.5 million euros, Remedy has secured the publishing IP rights after all these years. I know there is still some confusion around publishing and developing, but essentially Remedy still always owned the IP rights, so they could technically create an Alan Wake 2, but Microsoft would control the actual release of the property, and usually a lot of the development funding comes from the publisher. So if Microsoft wasn't on board, Remedy usually couldn't afford it, and wouldn't even be sure if Microsoft would release the game. It was never made completely public whether Microsoft owned the complete franchise IP publishing rights, if any game they created after would have to be published by Microsoft or at least go through Microsoft, or if it was just the original. But from what I read, it sounds like Microsoft would have at least had to sign off if another publisher was being brought on board. And it sounds like Microsoft wasn't going to continue the series regardless of the publisher, but we'll get to that a little bit later. So as of 2019, Remedy was free to shop around the IP and find a new publishing partner for the series if they desired. It also means that Alan Wake could finally go to other platforms if they decided. So PlayStation fans, if you've been waiting for this game, it looks like it could come to other places other than just Microsoft, unless another company wants to pay for exclusivity. And now we can get into the leak. Alan Wake is one of those series that hasn't been completely forgotten, but continuing the series seemed unlikely, due to Remedy's most recent successes in the form of 2016's Quantum Break and 2019's Control, both of which contain the DNA of the studio in pieces of Alan Wake. So fans, at least from what I saw, weren't really pushing for a continuation because Quantum Break and Control were such solid games that people were letting Remedy just continue to do what they wanted with some of these new IPs. That was until very recently, Jeff Grubb, who is a reporter for GamesBeat. Jeff has a Twitch channel where he discusses various gaming related things. On March 31st, 2021, he said that he heard Remedy is creating Alan Wake 2 and recently found a publishing partner in the form of Epic Games after a bidding war by many undisclosed companies. He doesn't know when they're going to announce it, and that for the most part is all he says about it, but we can play the clip anyways just to give you guys the full context of the conversation.
I've heard that Remedy is going to be making Alan Wake 2 with Epic, and it should be it should kind of be the follow-up the fans of that series want. So Alan Wake, there was a bidding war, but Epic had the best publishing deal, and so Alan Wake 2, it seems like it's coming. I don't know exactly when they'll announce it, but
for casual fans who just want more Alan Wake and haven't played Control or Quantum Break, it's pretty well known that all these games share a connected universe that has been set up by Remedy, especially with Control coming out so recently, and Remedy has really doubled down on connecting these two games before Alan Wake 2. So I will be discussing spoilers for Control and Control's DLC, so if you haven't played either of those games yet and still want to before Alan Wake, either click off this video or continue to the next video chapter. But within some of the lore and objects and reading within Control, more information is given about Alan Wake and the connection between Control and Alan Wake. Within Control, there are documents that say Alan Wake is missing after the events of the first game, and that the FBC, or Federal Bureau of Control, has watched Alan Wake and the AWE that he was fighting. The FBC also thinks that Alan could be a para-utilitarian, which are individuals with special abilities, like the protagonist Jesse in Control. And the final aspect I want to cover is the light switch or clicker in Alan Wake is also considered an object of power, same as the pistol in Control. So there's a lot of parallels here between the two games, and this is all stuff that you can read, find for yourself, look up. Maybe I'll link a video showing all the story beats and connections in the description below if you want to hear someone's full extended thoughts. But basically, for the purpose of this video, Remedy has already started setting up Alan Wake again, so it makes sense that now they would be revisiting it. And a lot of this was done in the base game, and then in Control's DLC, Alan was actually shown and his story was expanded on further. He was shown with an updated design, and all of which now we assume was used to set up Alan Wake 2. They get into Alan was potentially setting up Jesse to help this next threat as the head of the Bureau. Honestly, there's videos that explain it way better than I do, but for the sake of this, you just have to know they're setting up each other, they're set in the same world, and it's possible that when Alan Wake 2 comes out, there will be story implications and connections to Control. That's all I want to say, and I'll link some videos for you guys to watch down below. The last aspect of Alan Wake 2 I want to discuss is when Remedy was developing a sequel that was never picked up and quickly cancelled. Polygon was actually given exclusive details about the game, and they were even given one of the prototype pitch trailers to release publicly. Now, it's a pretty long article, but the major beats you need to know about is that Remedy always intended for Alan Wake to have multiple sequels. Right after Alan Wake shipped in 2010, the team started working on and planning for a sequel, and what the continued story for the game would look like even past the second game. They were looking at 3 games or 4 games or whatever it was, so they wanted a story that would continue past Alan Wake 2. As I said before, at the time, Microsoft owned the publishing rights for the original game, so the studio then created the gameplay prototype to show around to other publishers that might be interested in the game along with Microsoft. And the prototype includes new enemies, a new setting, and new mechanics, all of which would have been enhanced given proper funding from the publisher and would have been fully fleshed out by the time the sequel actually came out. Remedy also said that there were other prototypes they created that they are keeping private that included some different aspects of the sequel, but they were not shown due to lack of polish. I also assume, and this is full speculation, that other prototypes might have included story elements as well, and that's why Remedy wanted to keep these other prototypes private in case they did ever continue the franchise. But going back to Remedy's prototype, they were showing it to publishers and Microsoft, all of whom passed on the project. So Remedy reworked some of the assets they had used for those prototypes, and they ended up in the 2012 standalone Alan Wake game, American Nightmare. And the final nail in the coffin was this article and gameplay with Polygon. The team said they were able to release this prototype publicly because the game is dead, and the prototype didn't include any spoilers, so for fans that were interested, they could at least see a bit of what the sequel would have included. In hindsight, this was a very smart move by Remedy to keep the project so secretive and didn't release any story details, because now if these leaks are to be believed, they could still go back and use some of these original story elements from 2010 in this rumored Alan Wake sequel. And regardless of how you feel about Epic Games, it sounds like they are the ideal publishing partner and will allow Remedy to make the Alan Wake sequel they have wanted to make all these years later. Either way, that's where I'm going to end this video, and that is everything we know about the rumored Alan Wake 2. As always, make sure to like and share this video, subscribe for weekly gaming news, and I will see you guys in the next one.